Hello, my name is Frankie Rocha. This is my first speech for my class in workplace communications. I was born in Mexico, Tijuana, which is right along the California border, right in the Mexico Peninsula. And I migrated to Iowa here in the United States in about fifth grade. I was around 9, turning 10 years old. And fitting in wasn't always the easiest, especially not knowing a lick of English, only the basic elementary courses which they give you in Mexico. They just give you basic English words so you kind of know your basic items, maybe some basic transition words, but nothing to get a full conversation going and such. Today I am presenting an object, and it's a book, not just any regular book really that represents me necessarily. It's more about the content and what the book is about. So this is Long Shot by Mike Lupica. It's a book that I believe I didn't purchase it. I got it from my teacher, and it was in about sixth, seventh grade. It was in middle school already. The book talks about this kid called Pedro Morales, and he is like me, a newcomer into a town. Him and his family migrated to the city that he lives in now, and he is just a newcomer. And fitting into the school isn't always the easiest. He's used to playing like soccer growing up and such, and he wants to try out for the basketball team because he's naturally pretty good. The book talks about sounds like he's a natural athlete and such. So it's really more about trying to fit into this quote unquote American lifestyle and to this schooling that isn't necessarily what personally I grew up with, and the idea and the language barrier. So I remember there was this one storyline in the book. I believe it is around 1/4 of the way through. It is starts off with his dad, Pedro's dad, in the field, and they're playing around, doing a little shoot around. Pedro's dad shows him a couple shots because he used to be a semi-pro soccer player, so he's doing this shots like shooting it to the top left corner of the goal, and he's doing these things that just, of course, catches Pedro's attention and keeps his eye on his dad. And I remember Pedro asking him like, "How do you do that?" or like, "How do you get it to do such thing with the effect of the ball?" And I remember Pedro's dad saying that it's more about practice and repetition. And Pedro kept saying that it didn't really matter how many times he practiced, he was never going to do what his dad was doing. And really, what he was talking about was mostly about setting a type of rhythm, getting good at something, practicing it, and doing it over and over and over again, showing that you're passionate about it, and the rhythm is just gonna get there. Pedro wanted to just figure out a trick or like the way to get the talent, and it's to the skill just be given to him. But his dad was trying more to get into his head that it's more about work ethic and what you can accomplish yourself if you really put the work into it. Later on in the scene, I remember also the way that I connected into it, and it kind of stuck in my head. They kind of had this little moment between the father and son where Pedro's dad is kind of giving him a talk about how he's proud of him and what he is currently achieving, because he knows that he's not having the easiest time fitting in and such. So he's just letting him know that, even if this whole sports things don't work out with like the basketball tryouts, even if you don't make the team or if you don't become a starter and become that good player that you are in your head, it's not really about that, for which I'm proud of you. It's really more about how you act in the field, in the court, how you are as a person with your teammates, the way that you take leadership, and the way that you are becoming that better leader slash person along with it. Every time you go to practice, every time you have a game every weekend, like that kind of just stuck with me, because I remember me trying out like different sports throughout the year, and trying out like new friend groups because it just felt like I wasn't quite getting it. I wasn't quite fitting in that gap that I just thought I could fill. And although going through middle school and going through elementary wasn't the easiest, once you kind of get the language barrier down, it really just comes down to your personal communication skills and people skills. So after learning the language, it got easier. But as far as fitting in into more of a culture thing, I tried elaborating, I tried fitting in and changing. I don't want to say I changed the way that I am, but I do want to say that I kind of fit in better into what is now the American education system and the friend groups that I have now, the way that I communicate. Overall, I feel like the book just gave me a better idea of what it's like to go from a different perspective, a different environment into a completely new one, and doing the best that you can out of it, doing the best that you can with it, using your resources and the people around you to give you advice, as well as advice and comfort within the situation that you're on, because you're not always going to be uncomfortable, if that makes sense. It's going to get to a place where you feel like you fit in, you feel like where you are is perhaps where you're supposed to be. And that is all I have for you today, and I hope you enjoyed my speech and where I came from and a little story along with the book that I introduced to you guys. I hope you have a good one.